Hello and welcome to part 2 of how to use Ajax with Vue.js tutorial. In this part of tutorial, I will show you how to use Ajax in Vuex. So, what is Vuex? Vuex is a state management library. I will not go into details about Vuex since I will make another tutorial about it. The goal of using Vuex is to move the state from the components to some higher level, which is in this case Vuex store. Every component will have access to a store, and that way we keep state and components more reusable and state at one place. We also keep actions and mutations in store as well. Mutations are responsible for updating the value of the state. Actions are responsible for committing mutations and can contain asynchronous operations. So let's move our state from the component to the store. We will take posts and loading state from the data option. Inside state object, add posts with the default value of an empty array and loading, which will be false by default. Before creating Vuex actions, we will create action types and mutation types that will be defined as a string constant. It's not necessary to define action and mutation types, but it's a good practice to avoid conflicts with naming conventions in bigger apps. I will create action types and mutation types files in store folder. Our first action will be to fetch the posts data from the server. I will create an action type with the name fetchPosts. And let's create a mutation type for updatePostState. We will call it updatePosts. Now we can import action and mutation types inside Vuex store and use it for creating our first actions and mutations. Create an action as a computed property of actions object. The first parameter in every action is a context object, which consists of the commit method and the state. Commit method is used to run mutation, and state is used for accessing state. For this action, I will only use commit. We need to import mutation types and the HTTP function that we created in part 1 of this tutorial. We will pass URL into HTTP function and add await keyword in front of HTTP method. Also, we need to add async keyword in front of the action. The data that we get from the server will be stored in the variable called data. We can use that value to update state posts by committing update posts mutation. We will pass the data variable as an argument. Create a mutation with the type update posts. Each mutation have two parameters, state and payload. In this case, payload will be data that we get from the server inside fetchPosts action. Let's update the value of state posts. We also should update the loading state so the user will know that something is going on in the background. Let's create a mutation type for updating the loading state. Now create a mutation that will change the value of the loading state. So, before calling the server, I'm going to change the value of the loading state to true, and after we get a response from the server, we will change a loading state value back to false. In this example, we used async await functions, but we can also do it using promise with then callback. I will show you an example with a promise. Remove async and await keywords. HTTP function should return a promise, so we can use then callback function. We have data as a parameter that we will pass as an argument to the mutation. We will use finally callback for update loading value mutation because we want to execute this code regardless of the state of the promise. Now you have two examples. They are doing the same thing and you can choose what you like more. We want to access this state inside a component, and we will create a getter to do that. Getters are just functions that return a portion of the state. We will create posts and loading getter, and now we can use them inside a component with the mapGetters method. Import mapGetters and mapActions from Vuex. I will remove unnecessary code from the previous example. Use the spread operator with mapActions function in order to include actions inside the methods option. Import action types so we can map action to method option. Let's add a method name for the action fetchPosts. We will call it fetchPostsAction. In computed option, we will add mapGetters in order to use posts and loading state and to access their values. Inside mounted event, we can execute the action for getting the posts by calling fetchPostsAction method that we created in mapActions. Let's check if everything works fine. We have a list of posts. Inside the network tab in the browser, you can see the response from the server. I will create another action for creating a post. Create an action type with the name create new post. Create new post action will be asynchronous, so I will add async keyword in front of the function. Set loading state to true before calling the server. You should do this by committing update loading value mutation. Use HTTP method for Ajax request, but now add two more arguments, method with a post value and data. Data is a value from the HTML form. We will pass the data later from the component. Let's go to the component and add this action to the methods option. So when the user submits a form, we can just call this action with the new post data. I will give a name to this method createPostAction. Now, when you call createPostAction method inside a component, you will execute the createNewPostAction. I will do that inside onFormSubmit method and pass new post data as an argument. Let's add mutation type for updating post state. Create a mutation that append newly created post to the list of posts. We will pass data from the action and use that data to append to post state. Now, commit append new post mutation inside create new post action. Now, we can remove HTTP method from the component since we will not use it anymore. Let's see if everything works fine in the browser. So, that was my short tutorial about how to use Ajax with Vue.js and Vuex. Now you can try more complex examples with different APIs. If you have any questions, please write me in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.